We're we're 1 minute late, Mr. Lowry.
Well, I don't think we've either done a show or been early, but I don't think we've ever been a minute late.
I don't think so. Maybe once. Heck, I don't know. I've lost count. We've done so many daggum shows.
Yeah, I know. It's like you tried to prompt me about some show today, and I was like, yeah, the odds are that we did.
All right, let me switch screens here. I guess we need to make sure we're actually live. Well, there's 6 people watching right now, so I guess we must be live. I don't know. It's one of those where we're kind of sliding in by the seat of our pants. Well, I guess that's typical, but like we really are this evening.
But this is going to be a fun show because I envision we're going to make everybody mad.
Everybody's mad now. Well,
No, I said we're going to make everybody mad.
oh. Well, we've done that before. We'll do it again. We don't care.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, look, if there's a show that abuses their audience, I would say it was this one. We do that.
Yes, we are very good and very consistent at that. You know, they say that on YouTube and social media, consistency is the key, and I would say we consistently piss people off.
Yeah, well, you got to
It's
be
not
good at something,
intentional.
right?
Yeah, it's not intentional, but I guess it just comes natural for both of us.
Well,
All
what
right.
what are we gonna talk about?
Well, so I've got a couple of topics here, and I don't know if you saw our screen, our thumbnail. Let me see if I can find that thing while I'm going to list off the topics. So we're going to talk about the pool situation, which prompted me for the title of the show, Pool Player. And that would absolutely be referring to Mr. Tommy Chandler's. I don't know. He's got to do something about his PR department, don't you think?
Well, I don't know. I think they're working on it. We'll just leave it at that. I think they're
Yeah.
working on it. But I
Well,
already took my shot on that criticism, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, so I'm putting a thumbnail up for the show, and so it prompted me to do this because everybody, it seems like in town, is losing their minds over this pool situation, and so we're going to share our thoughts on that. And let's see, what else are we going to talk about? Oh yeah, was a police jury bill or something going on, lobbyist or lobbying or something in Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah, the police jury, they're at it again down there. Same old thing. They can't just go and get their hat handed to them by the Louisiana Supreme Court. I mean, they got to go down and get some more. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
McCormicks were there to meet them.
Gluttons for punishment, I guess. So then we're going to talk about Senator Kennedy. He came out and pretty much didn't beat around the bush his stance on CO2, carbon dioxide, and the carbon capture sequestration. Gotta love all these acronyms all the time.
Sure enough, he did. And I think, uh, what was it? What's that other little thing? Caddo Lake and water and the city council meeting. And, there's a lot of stuff pertaining to that.
Yeah, there is.
You're,
So I'm gonna do a little.
you're
Put the topic down as Caddo instead of math heads, because apparently nobody in their right mind can do math. Everybody just loses their mind. So I'm gonna share. I've already shared it out on bossierwatch, but over on the outdoor news, I'm kind of course, stirring the pot some. And so we're gonna talk about Caddo Lake water math, and we'll do it brief because nobody wants to be sitting in here for a math class. And the city council meeting. So I just went and started taking a look right before the show because I hadn't had time. I guess that meeting went on like 2 hours or something. So I haven't even had time to go through the Bossier City Council meeting.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, studying and planning on what you're supposed to do was not real popular, but yet it passed, I understand.
Oh, it did. So they're going to spend $1 million on that, I guess, or whatever it is.
Well, I don't know about $1 million. I didn't think it was that much, but I have to say I do have an opinion on that, and I don't think people are going to like my opinion on that, and that's fine. Yeah,
That's okay.
I'm
Look,
here to offend.
That's right. You and I don't agree all the time either. Sometimes we disagree. Most of the time we agree, but it's okay for everybody to disagree. And speaking of that, we want to remind everybody right before we do our little sponsor break deal here. If you are new to the show, we've already got about 50 something people watching. If you're new to the show, here's how this works. We encourage you to light up the comments. If we say something you don't agree with, light it up. Just remember one rule. A, no obvious trolling and no vulgar language. It's okay if you say a couple of cuss words, just try not to keep it or keep it away from being too vulgar. And number two, this is a live show. So if you put a comment up there, then like Miss Ann Price says, good evening, I'm liable to throw that up there on the screen, which means it's there in the digital eternity forever. So just remember those simple rules. All right, you about ready to get started? And well, we got a little bit of a rumor mill. We'll talk about that after we come out of the 30-second break. How about that?
Oh God, I probably know, but you caught me off guard. I don't know, but yeah, let's go to the break.
More drama. Here we go, folks. We'll be back. If I can talk tonight, we will be back in about 30 to 45 seconds. Y'all know the drill. Grab a quick drink. You got to make your popcorn quick now because these are short breaks that we do. We will be right back. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And we're back. They seem to be getting shorter and shorter.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So, where are we going to go first? I see your what's going on with frogs? Up at the crawfish farm, I was noticing the big bullfrogs are out everywhere. The snakes and the bullfrogs are having at it, but I don't know that that's what you're talking about.
Well, no, not quite, but let me do a little screen sharing here. So hold on just a second. I'm going to share a little video out first. Let's see if I hit that button, that button. Now watch this. Did you see that little splash up there?
Faintly.
Did I catch a bullfrog? Really?
So I'm on Caddo Lake frog fishing,
Holy
and a
crap.
bullfrog, look, attacks
On the
my
copper
frog.
red, smoke color frog. Look at that, folks. You saw it.
How
That's
about that?
Crazy.
How about that?
That
frog
frog
legs,
swam
baby.
probably 15 or 20 feet to come after my frog. Uh-oh, I got him in the tongue. Oh, man.
I don't know if you know, but their tongues are pretty long.
Okay, copper red
Yeah.
frog. I caught a bullfrog literally on my frog. First time ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So the other thing I was going to show is, do you know that there is an actual frog season? So let me put that graphic up. I meant to show that and I skipped right over it. Let me get rid of this.
Bullfrogs are aggressive. People don't realize it. They are pretty daggum aggressive.
Yeah, they like eat everything in their path, including other frogs, obviously, because he was going after that plastic frog. But did you know, just being informative here, well, this is not an outdoor show, folks. Y'all can go over to the Outdoor News and check that out if you want more outdoor stuff. But just to let everybody know, because there's lots of frog videos being posted, the season is closed April through May. So no catching bullfrogs to eat. Got to release them, I guess, catch and release. They got to be a 5-inch minimum, and it is closed April through May, according to the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Did you know that?
I did not know that. So 1-800-GAME thief, and what's the reward? You threw that one in the old fish pen in your boat. So how much can I make?
Operation Game Thief. And Wes Marriott says we call it Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Dum-dum-dum. Singing is not my specialty.
So speaking of the law and legal and all that good stuff, What's this stuff about the grapevine says lawsuits may be filed in Benton?
Well, so sources say, let's just do it that way. Sources say that there may have been a lawsuit filed on Friday, and there may be another lawsuit in the mix if it hasn't already been filed coming up. And rumor has it that it's something to do with the town of Benton. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Bossier City and the fact that Bossier City's dismissal of a lawsuit down there, a request for a dismissal in federal court, was denied.
Oh, wait, I haven't heard about this one. So tell me more about this one. I don't know about this one.
Oh, them little old folks down there that had the weekly apartment rentals, but didn't
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
rent
yeah,
them for a
yeah.
week or something or another like that. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, so just going back from memory on that, there is look, and I've said this before, I'll spend just 30 seconds on it again. A lot of people are like, well, those apartments were in shambles and it's dilapidated. They should have closed them down anyway. How are these people conservative Republicans or claim to be? And yet the first thing they want to do is infringe on somebody else's property rights. That property was not behind on their water bill. We showed all of that. We had, what's her name, Rama on here, or Rima. We showed all of that. Anyway, long story made short, Tommy Chandler and his minions, or goons, I should say, decided to go down there and cut their water off and wouldn't refuse to turn the water on, even though the water bill was paid. Then Jacobs chimed in about something about temporary residencies and, just ignoring all the pipeliners that do that and oil company folks that do that. And so anyway, this rocked along back and forth. They never got the water cut on. Basically, they're trying to force them into bankruptcy. This is my take on it, but pretty much backed up by facts. And lo and behold, they have filed a federal lawsuit, and they've got Ryan Gaddy and another law firm, I think out of Baton Rouge or New Orleans somewhere, that has joined in on this. So,
Well, I think the way this story will end, that the city of Bossier is going to pay out a big, large lump sum of money
yes,
again.
yes,
Is how this ends. And what is it with government trying to constantly squeeze on people and their property? I mean, I, I don't know. It seems like people would pay a little bit more attention to the type people that they elect to office, because if we keep electing people whose um, disregard people's property rights and
disdain
such.
for their property rights, I would say.
Yeah, disdain. I mean, this thing's going to continue. It's going to be on your front doorstep.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know. And look, it's literally wasting all of our tax dollars every time. I mean, these lawyers, when they have to hire outside counsel, number one, Jacobs and Ray aren't cheap. They're both what, 100,000, somewhere around $100,000 a year that the city pays them. Plus, you hire outside counsel, and those lawyers can bill up to, I don't know what the limit is according to the Attorney General, but it's a couple of $100 an hour at least. So these lawsuits end up in the tens of thousands of dollars. It's just our tax dollars floating away. Yet, the city wants to close the dadgum swimming pools. But I'm jumping ahead just a little.
Well, not too terribly far ahead. I see the comments cooking pretty good. I see a few from some of my friends that I'm going to be on the opposite side of y'all on some of these comments. And I'm going to have to tell you why. And, it's going to be a little bit of a history lesson that I think y'all have heard before, but maybe you hadn't, and that may not matter to you. But I'm gonna say it nonetheless. when we get there.
Wes Marriott's has a good comment. Says, ironic that some will defend property rights for some businesses, but fight tooth and nail against chiropractors and counselors. Very perceptive of you. Very perceptive, Mr. Marriott.
That is one. We were talking about that hypocrisy thing a little bit earlier today, and seems like there's a lot of that going on. And I don't know. Did you see the before we jump off into the pool head first? Did you see the SCOTUS ruling?
Yes, you got me on that one. Hold up a second, folks.
I mean,
no diving in the pool except the deep end. Yeah, I did see that ruling, and I've only read it briefly because I've been in New Orleans for about 3 days teaching Excel classes down there for 3 days straight, so I haven't been following politics closely, but I did see that SCOTUS ruled, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, ruled against this super gerrymandered expialifragilistic district for Clio Fields, and a lot of folks have blamed Jeff Landry making some kind of backroom deal with Clio so there will be less Democratic competition for the gubernatorial race that, of course, Landry won, pretty handily. What's the real story? Do we want to dive off into that?
Yeah, we do want to. I want to dive off into that because I got to say, I sent you the link. I sent it to you earlier today, but I sent it to you again to kind of get it ginned up. So I'm seeing all these people out there. Everybody's jumping up there saying, "Oh, Landry did this. Landry did it. He ordered that congressional district for Cedric Richmond. He's the one that did it." But that doesn't completely jive with what happened during the time. And fortunately, there's video that supports exactly what was kind of happening during the time. Now, were the politics of the time such that it was beneficial to Landry, who was running for governor? I would say absolutely it was. I mean, but was it the sole reason? Was because Jeff Landry gave marching orders? I mean, that's the biggest bunch of malarkey. But don't take my word for it. Y'all listen to what was said in the House floor here.
All right, so let me get this thing unmuted and let me see if it will play. Here we go. And why do we have no audio? Hold on just a second. Technical difficulties. Let's try this again. What gives? Hold on. Oh, I got it. Here we go. Technical difficulties. Let's try this again.
Well, you said you had it, but it doesn't look like you got it.
I got it that time. Here we go. Third time's charm.
Speaker. Rep Boyer, thanks for carrying the bill over here. Is this bill intended to create another black district?
Yes, ma'am.
Whoa.
And to comply with the judge's order.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Whoa. Let me listen to that
Rep
again.
Boyer, thanks for carrying the bill over here. Is this bill intended to create another black district?
Yes, ma'am. And to comply with the judge's order.
Thank you.
What? Oh, okay. First question right off the bat. Did he just say that the judge ordered another black district to be created?
I mean, unless the English language has changed again, but for some people who, no matter what, Satan's last name is Landry, yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Well, first of all, that sounds racist to me. Just straight up.
Well, I think the Supreme Court agrees with you on that it is racist to draw districts based off of the color of your skin, regardless of that color.
All right.
I think they agree with you.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong again, because I'm just going off of mental history. And again, I've been teaching Excel for 3 days straight. Wasn't Liz Murrell defending this super gerrymandered district? And I understand she's the AG for the state, or maybe at that time she was assistant AG or whatever, and has to defend the state's interest. obviously. But wasn't there this discussion, and correct me if I'm wrong, Duke, wasn't there discussion from Landry himself?
So here's the thing, and I see Paul Johnson. He's quoting Paul Hurd, and Paul Hurd is sharp constitutional guy. I highly respect Paul Hurd and his opinion and view on things. But I sometimes feel like Paul Hurd has a slanted view as well, and it's the gang up on Landry thing. But the bottom line was Judge Dick gave a directive to them. Basically ordering them. Was it exactly in writing? But basically the order was yeah, you're going to draw another district, and it's going to be a minority district. It's going to be 2 minority districts. That was an order. And if they didn't do it, I mean, and I remember that time because I was paying attention to this. If they didn't do it, she was going to do it herself. She was going to draw it up.
Yeah, and
So
I think we've discussed this before in a previous
we
show.
talked about it on the show. So people can say all day long that this was Jeff Landry. No, it was the federal judge out of New Orleans, Dick. Dick is the last name that told him you're going to do this.
Yeah, I think it was actually
100%.
a female judge. The last name was Dick, right?
Right. So, but the debate of the time, there was 2 camps. There was one camp who said, okay, let's draw the district. Let's go ahead and do this second minority district, and then we'll go to Supreme Court. And then there was somebody else that said, well, let's sue the other camp. Well, let's go ahead and appeal this judge right now and go through the process of going up to the Supreme Court. And it was a question, and nobody had the right answer as to which, it was speculation as to which course would get through the system the fastest. But what was understood was that it was a more sound legal foundation to go to the top with a mandatory drawn district based on race. And that was what Landry fell on that side of the fence, that we would have a better case going to the Supreme Court, being forced to do something, against the Constitution. And obviously he was right.
Okay. So, and just to be clear, I mean, it wasn't like Jeff Landry took the map out and the crayons and drew the district, right? Who do we remember? Because I remember us talking about it on the show, but who actually drew the districts?
Well, Paul Johnson is, and Paul Johnson says Cleo drew the district himself, and I think he's probably right. Cleo probably did.
How convenient. I'd like all of this right here.
Yeah, but it didn't freaking matter. That wasn't the point. The point was no matter what, they were going to get the district. We weren't going to win. There was going to be a minority district drawn that way. The only question was going to be how fast we could get up the food chain in the Supreme Court. Which course was going to be the fastest?
So Jeff Sadow says, to be precise, the 3-judge panel gave the state until January 15th, 24 to respond with legislation. And if it didn't, Dick was invited to do it herself. So, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, in the comments, I think Jeff played some small role or some role in the lawsuit. I think I remember him saying that. So he would know a little bit more about it than probably a lot of us would on the actual lawsuit side.
Yeah. So these, here again, people shooting Landry over this. I think it's misplaced. But if y'all want to keep on shooting, then rock on, keep shooting. I mean, you're entitled to shoot if you want.
Look, it's kind of, I've been talking a lot about irony on the outdoor news side as far as this data center goes, but it's kind of ironic that I go around claiming we're at the very beginning of the information age. Everybody's spill I give is that These are not really phones. They're information and communication devices. They just happen to make phone calls, and we all have all this information under fingertips. And we're at the beginnings of the information age. I would argue that maybe in some ways we're going backwards as far as knowledge, though.
I would agree. I would agree with that as well too. Man, some of the stuff I'm seeing happening in Baton Rouge, and man, even here on a local level, it's blowing my mind. People losing their mind over a damn swimming pool. I mean, losing their mind.
Yes. So let's go ahead and let's get into the swimming pool. I want to talk about the Caddo stuff, but we'll do that later. So let's get into the swimming pool stuff. Let me see if I got to pull my notes back up here just a second.
Okay, wait a minute. We've got a news flash. Let's see here. Landry backing Letlow so he can slide into her Senate seat while promising her an appointment to one of the UL president positions. If you're a U.S. senator, why would you give that up to be the president of UL Lafayette? No, I'm sorry. Can't. Not happening. Don't buy that one.
I would think that a sitting U.S. senator would be far better than being the UL president, unless maybe they're paying more money as the UL president. I don't know. Explain that some more in the comments. Yeah, I'm interested in knowing that one too. Now, do I think that there was some kind of deal or handshake agreement made between Landry, Trump, and Letlow? There's no other explanation for Landry backing Letlow so hard, and Trump for that matter.
Well,
I'm not saying anything illegal. I'm not saying any impropriety, but some sort of, well, yeah, if you'll do this, I'll do this.
Well, I have an opinion on why this is all shaken out the way that it is, and do I know it to be a fact? I have a hypothesis and theory, but I think I would be remiss if I kind of set it out here live. I'll wait till the race is over and then I'll share with everybody what I think it is, because I don't want to get into it, because I know all of those people and I like them all. I'm very disappointed in all of the attacking between the people, and the reason is because I don't think some of the attacks are fair. I don't think it's right, and I think it's now everybody is taking things out of context, and it's just making a damn mess of the thing.
Yeah, true.
Don't like it at all.
Well, and that's kind of related to Wes's comment here. Also said there's been a study on that, Rex. Kids that rely on generative AI lose critical thinking skills. Now, I'm talking even before AI in the most recent incantation of AI. Now, if you're referring, Wes, to AI as just general artificial intelligence as far as computing power and all that for the last 15 or 20 years, okay. But I'm talking before ChatGPT, before Grok, before all of these, most recent flavors of AI. I would argue we're still going backwards. And as much as I love social media, and I'm on social media all the time, we're on the platforms right now using them. It's just like people can't think. They literally can't add. I keep saying the math doesn't lie, but everybody forgets apparently they're third and fourth grade math. But I digress. We'll get to all that here in a minute. All right, so let's get to the pool. Did you listen to Chris Smith? Oh, City Councilman Chris Smith. Did you listen to his interview on Keel?
I did not listen to it because I did know I didn't listen to it, but I did know what was going on and what the theories are regarding the swimming pool thing. And so I don't know what he said specifically, but the theories are what I understood. And I'm a little aggravated about this, and y'all can thrash me because I'm carrying the water for Landry, but now I'm going to carry the water for Chris as well too.
Do I need to get you?
And
What color 5-gallon bucket would you like? Would you like a Home Depot or a Lowe's or a Harbor Freight 5-gallon bucket?
Well, them Harbor Freight ones are cheap and they break easy. So
Okay.
definitely a Home Depot one. But
All right.
here's the thing. So, Chris basically, I'm sure, said that, there was not enough use, gave
Yeah.
a statistic,
200
gave us
people a year
200 people a
or a
year,
season.
and
Whatever.
how much money are they spending, on this? And then he probably gave the number, in which, I heard 500,000. I don't know if that's correct or whatever, but if the amount of money you're spending on the service or the opportunity or whatever, and you've got diminished amount of use, and those statistics are all accurate, then you should look at it, in all things. I mean, all of us need to go back to what is the proper role of government. All of you, everybody's got to step back. Even all you tennis junkies out there, I'm fixing to step on y'all too. When they come raiding down there to the damn council about, by gosh, we got to have our tennis money. I mean, did anybody say what is the proper role of government and what is the first responsibility? Well, the first responsibility is the safety and defense of its citizens. So from a municipal standpoint, the first thing is your police. That's the first thing.
But
But in Bossier,
didn't we just give them a raise last year or
you
2024?
don't give police one raise and then say, "Oh, we gave them a raise, we're done." No, you've got every freaking municipality, state around it giving everybody raises. It's a competition, and unless you stay on top of the pay, they're going to always fall behind. And guess what? You know what? Bossier City's pay has always been substandard for public safety.
Oh, but wait
It's
a minute.
always been below.
Wait a minute. Didn't we just hire like 10 new firemen and policemen or something like that? That was all over the news, something to that effect.
No, we created 10 more positions in both departments, but we still are underpaying. So we're just going to add 10 more additional underpaid positions.
Oh, so when your buddy Chris came out and was spouting all that, he was full of it.
I'm not saying he was full of it. I mean, look, hang on. There's math here.
Okay.
How much you want to bet? Thank you, dear. I got my
was
bucket.
wondering where that pot came from. Oh, okay. You can carry in the water. Yeah. Make
so
sure
I
it doesn't
can
leak out
carry
on
water
you.
real good.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. So what in Bossier City, what do? They add these 10 positions, and then when they got all this leftover money from the 10 positions they added, they just take it and they dribble it through the departments for pay raises again. So by the time we're done with this, we may have 1,000 positions for police officers in Bossier City just so we can keep giving raises. I don't know.
All right.
I know I'm being
Yeah, but didn't somebody on the city council advocate for cost of living increases? And correct me if I'm wrong, or refresh my memory. Do police and fire, civil service, do they get cost of living increases like automatic? I don't know what the number would be. Let's say 2 or 3%. Do they get that, or how does that work? Refresh my memory.
Yeah, they do. I don't know what it is now today. I really don't. But what I do know is that you've got to stay on top of the pay for public safety, because if you just hesitate or flinch just a little bit, you're behind. And
Right.
that's what the city, citizens of Bossier have historically, you know, uh, made a priority in Bossier City is public safety. And look, in recent years, city government has made a change. They put a priority on infrastructure. That's also the other leg of the stool within city government. You've got to make sure that the infrastructure, I mean, there's a lot of improvement in the water, sewer lines, and the roads that need to be made. They're doing those things, but you can't sacrifice the first priority, for the second priority, but you do have to do the second priority. The problem comes in is when you're freaking giving out free parking lots willy-nilly, and you're doing so good that you can afford to just give out free parking lots, and then when things start getting a little tight and you start looking at the numbers and you say, well, these other things, I'm sorry, a swimming pool is not in the top tier of priorities. And
Yeah.
that damn tennis court, it's not either. It's not.
Look, I don't disagree with you. And let me give you my take, because I got a phone call from somebody. I'm not going to call him out on the show, but he may be watching. And, his deal, he started, and he's a conservative Republican too, by the way, supposed to be. But his deal was, but what are all the poor kids going to do if they don't have a swimming pool and blah, 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 and this and that, and the poor and disadvantaged kids and folks. And look, I agree with that. But here's my thing. When I was a child growing up, most or half of my childhood, I lived in Haynesville, Louisiana. Haynesville had a city pool. All us kids enjoyed going to the city pool. All my friends, rich and poor friends, and not that we were rich either. We were, kind of on the poor, maybe middle class side, but we all enjoyed going to the pool. But you know what? If I didn't have allowance money to go to the pool and get some snacks and stuff like that, you know what I had to do? Either go swimming in the pond. We went to Garrett's Pond. Sometimes we'd swim in the city pond, but not that often. I'd go to Garrett's Pond, or I'd have to play in the dadgum water hose. I just don't get all of this. Everybody's a conservative Republican or conservative person until it's their social program. Now, with that said, I agree with you, Duke, that if we run, this is just a math problem. If we run the math and the number of people in attendance at the pools each season, because I'm not so sure Mr. Smith was correct. Maybe he was. Maybe we should do a public information request, or somebody watching this show should do it, because any of you can do it, by the way. Do a public information request for the attendance numbers and the expenses, the P&Ls for the pool. Just request that. And you can do simple math and then see if the number of people attending divided by the expenses, so the revenue coming in divided by the expenses, justifies keeping the pools open. It's simple math that Mr. Smith didn't seem to have. He seemed to spout off whatever Tommy spouted off. And maybe that's correct.
Okay.
But Tommy,
okay,
I don't think so.
Hold up.
Okay.
I got to stop you because I take
All right.
issue with what you just said.
Okay.
So, and I'm fixing to throw a rock at every one of the other councilmen with the exception of Chris Smith. So, who remembers about councilmen going into departments or areas within the city and seeking information or talking to employees and all that stuff? And I do remember there being pissing contests from the mayor's office that you're a councilman, you can't go directly to them. Everything's got to come from our office. So I'm confident that the numbers that Chris may or may not have articulated, I have to say it that way because I didn't hear them.
I heard them. It was 200. It was 200 people.
Okay. Well, do you think he just dreamed that up? He had to get the number. So you're telling me you think Chris Smith just makes up numbers out of the air?
No, I don't think he made them up out of the air. I said they came from probably Tommy's office, which arguably may as well be made up out of air, knowing Tommy, but that's a whole other.
Okay. Well, you can't say they're just, I don't believe that he just made them up out of the air. They came from somewhere. And him going out publicly, and this is where my problem with the rest of the councilmen is. You let him go out there on behalf of all of y'all to try to, and maybe his mistake is going out there trying to tell people in the public what they're thinking, why they're thinking what they're thinking, and tell the numbers. Tommy can't do it. And he's going out to do it. But then what did all the other councilmen do? They hung him out to dry.
Well, maybe they didn't hang him out to dry. Maybe they decided to actually talk to their constituents, us voters and the taxpayers that actually fund all that crap, to see what we wanted to do. If it's losing $100,000 a year to the city, but all the tax-paying voters are okay with that, maybe that's what we want to do. And look,
Well,
I don't care whether they close the pools or not, honestly.
Wasn't that what he was doing? Going telling the public what they were talking about and what they're Chris.
No, he was going on Keel telling the public what they were about to go ahead and do without consulting the public. Have you not seen the pitchforks and the torches and the literal screen catching on fire from social media?
That's what you're doing. Who put all the numbers out on the budget stuff? Who was doing that? Did Cliff Smith? Did he do it? No, he didn't do it. Did Joel Gerard? No, he didn't do it. They're all sitting back there quiet like mice, and the only person that's out there putting information out is Chris Smith. But yet everybody wants to hang him because he's trying to communicate, and that's my problem.
He went out there to get hung. Look, I agree. Look, I applaud Chris Smith for going on Keel and trying to explain the situation. I do applaud him for that.
Well,
and
you know
I don't
what?
think he's necessarily wrong.
Chris doesn't need to tell the public anything, because if you and everybody else, if all y'all are going to do is hang the messenger, then you know what? He just needs to shut up.
Hold on.
Have the council meeting, let the shit hit the fan.
Bingo.
And you know what? Then everybody can get them a piece of the pie.
What Chris needs to do.
That may be what Chris needs to do. If he's just going to be the bad guy every time.
No, he's not being the bad guy, and I'm not advocating for hanging him out. I'm just saying I question the numbers, possibly, and he may be 100% correct. Maybe there is the off chance, the one time that Tommy Chandler's numbers were actually correct. This could be the case. But I think what Chris should do is let people
correct. That lays at the mayor's feet.
It does, exactly. Or more specifically, our good friend Cheeto. Where the hell is Cheeto in all this? Where's our CAO that we advocated for? Where's our CAO? Was he at the meeting? I didn't watch the whole meeting. Maybe he got up and spoke about it. I don't know. Was the CAO at the meeting? Did he do a press conference? Did he do a press release? Oh, they don't have a PIO. But still, he could have grabbed the mic and done his own. Where the hell is Cheeto?
Well, I'm just saying, this goes back to that hypocrisy thing. If we're going to kill the messenger, you know, who is the only one coming out there trying to talk about things. I mean, in this, you know, Brian, look, love Brian to death. When he sees people get mad about it, then bam, you're going to jump out there in the public and say, oh, I'm going to go talk to the mayor about it.
Well, yeah, because everybody's pissed off. Well, and look, all right, so here's where again, I know it sounds like I'm super harsh on Chris. I'm really not, because I do applaud him for trying to get out ahead of this. I'm just questioning the motives behind closing those damn pools. Because look, the whole insurance argument, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't fly with me. You're telling me that look, maybe doing a skate park and a BMX park where you're highly likely to break necks, break backs, break, you know, bones or whatever. Maybe the insurance is a little bit lower than having a swimming pool. I don't know. But here's the other thing people should request. Because if the insurance is so high, request the drownings per year in the city of Bossier for the last 10 years. How many have there been?
But
at the pool specifically, how many have there been?
But here's the hypocrisy of the whole damn thing. Everybody's all pissed off and wound up about freaking $500 for a freaking school, when there is a whole lot more bigger crap for you to be mad about and wound up about. The bottom line, if you looked at the numbers, if anybody took the time to read the numbers that Chris put out in the charts on the things, you would see Bossier City doesn't get the tax dollars that they should. That there's a whole lot of tax dollars going to some other government entities in this parish, but it's easy, low-hanging fruit, in my opinion, for people to hang out beating up on Bossier City.
I agree, but two things can be wrong at once.
Which brings you to this master planning thing. I mean,
all right,
hold
up. Yeah, we agree on that. And look, we're not that far apart on this issue. I'm just not going to defend Chris Smith until I can verify the numbers myself, which, granted, I have not done, obviously. All right, so I put this screenshot up here, and this is apparently from one of the lifeguards at one of the pools. He says Gavin Guy, I guess his real name. But anyway, it was in the Shady Grove Bel Air neighborhood Facebook group. It's been all over social media. I think there was another lifeguard that made another post too. But anyway, it says, I don't normally like to post stuff like this, but it's been making me kind of mad as of recently. I was a lifeguard at Mike Wood's pool for the past 3 summers. All this talk about struggling to get enough certified lifeguards is basically a lie. Most of the 16 lifeguards I worked with last year were planning on returning, and that was one of the arguments that Chris Smith specifically made, was getting lifeguards. He made that exact point because I listened to the conversation on Keel. And I know several other people that were trying to work there this summer. So when I keep hearing that this is the reason that Mike Wood's pool is closing down, it saddens me they did not even attempt to staff for this year. Let me repeat, they did not even attempt to staff for this year. I think the truth is that the city does not want to spend the money that it takes to run it. The pool is a staple in Bossier City and was busy almost every day last summer, not to mention the several daycares that we hosted. So somebody's not telling the truth here.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know. I don't know this, but I don't believe for a second that Chris is going to just jump out there and be making stuff up. I don't think he's going to do that. I feel with a high degree of certainty that he got a report from City Hall and he went out there. I mean, I guess the PIO sure didn't do it, but he went out there trying to, on the city's behalf, articulate the position, which automatically puts him the bad guy. He's the bad guy. He's taking point.
And what did I just say? He was going off of Tommy's numbers.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I guess I'm speaking to all the people that, advocate for this new mentality of today. You hang everybody first and then you ask questions later. No, that's not how you do it. Case in point, just right now, SpaceX is supposedly coming to Louisiana, and
rocket ships.
We're getting rocket ships, and that's hot off the presses. And supposedly, we're going to destroy 136,000 acres of wetlands.
Sounds
and
like
everybody guess. I mean, you can guess. Everybody's wanting to go hang somebody. They've already got their target, and you don't even know any details. There's not one piece of legal document to sustain the argument that that's factual or not. But we're supposed to go hang somebody right now on hearsay, and I don't know. I'm getting tired of it.
What did you say? 100,000 acres?
Yeah, well,
that's a
after research, now it's been whittled down to 10,000 acres.
Oh, 10,000 acres. Okay, so how many?
If it's true, the stories keep changing. If it's true.
Okay. So do you know, kind of off the top of your head, approximately, won't hold you to the number, but approximately how many acres of wetlands are down in that area or around the state in the South? Approximately.
It depends on who you believe, but last number I heard was like 6.8 million acres.
Oh, and we're talking 10,000 acres out of that, right?
I'm not
like my
advocating
teaspoon out of the 5-gallon bucket analogy with Caddo in the water.
I'm not advocating for 10,000 acres of wetlands to be done anything with. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But what I am saying is that I think I would trust SpaceX with wetlands before I would trust a lot of other industries with wetlands.
I agree. All right. So, well, Wes is on fire with the comments. He said Chris's mistake was defending a decision he didn't make and trying to be transparent with information he got from Parks and Rec that may or may not have been accurate. See, that's what I was trying to say. You did it much more eloquently than I am doing it tonight, Mr. Marriott.
Yeah. And so I understand they passed their little thing about doing a master plan.
Oh, yes, this whole master plan. Now the number the news media has been spouting off, I'm having trouble enunciating my words correctly. I got to slow down. So the number that the news media has been putting out is like $1 million on this master plan for the master plan for the master plan.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard that, but what I would tell you is that it needs to be done. And I hear all the conspiracy theories out there. I hear that crap or whatever, but here's what I would tell you. If we had an updated master plan, or if we had an updated master plan, you wouldn't have the overpass to Benton dumping out right there, dead ending into Benton Road into a shopping center. You would have had it, ending up on Shed Road like it was originally supposed to. But because that master plan, which ironically we sought to get, we sent public information requests trying to get the old original master plan to prove and show that that's what it was supposed to do. But because it had aged and it wasn't stayed on top of, it enabled politicians to manipulate and get away from what the plan, smart people doing numbers and studies and all that crap said this is what you should do. Because we didn't stay on top of that and we let it go by the wayside, you got some screwed up crap. And so now you fast forward and you got people that are wanting to do it and get the plan in writing of what we should be working towards. And everybody's like, oh no, it's something nefarious. By gosh, we don't need to do this.
I don't think it's nefarious.
Fire alarms.
I think it may be a waste of money. So we had a master plan before. How much of it did we actually follow?
Well, actually, until the overpass to Benton followed it to a T.
Okay. All right.
I mean, widening Shed Road 4 lanes, from Benton Road all the way out there to I think almost Swan Lake or whatever, that was a part of the master plan. It changed, and I don't care. I'll tell you who, David Jones. David Jones used to.
But we have to have a master plan to tell us that we should widen a road with a lot of traffic. What the hell?
No, but long-term planning, as the city grows and you develop the traffic stuff like Benton Road and Airline Drive, they knew that crap was coming. The master plan, it still sucks.
I don't drive up and down Airline Drive unless I can't avoid it.
But my point is, right. And Wes, like Wes says, it's grossly deficient. He's right. It is. And it needs to be, it should have been done a long time ago. And had it been done, your overpass to Benton would have been dumping out in Shed Road like it was supposed to, not dumping more traffic up on Benton Road, causing a problem. But, the public being worried about a swimming pool rather than some of these bigger issues is part to blame with it, because
they don't feel like they have any control over these other bigger issues, like the stupid monument in the roundabout that they spent $300,000, $400,000 on. And no matter how much people griped about that, they just did it anyway. So people don't think they have any control over that. But they do want to have some control over their swimming pool where they take their kids.
They thought they didn't have any control.
They didn't. The damn monument's still there.
I know, but that started before this last round that we proved that you can have an impact. You can get involved and have an impact.
Look, we did have an impact with the help of a whole lot of people with the term limits, yes. But did we stop the monument? No. Did we stop the Parkway ramp from coming down not on Shed Road? No. Once that machine got in motion, it was a steamroller. But people do see that they can have an effect on the swimming pool where they literally take their kids. Now, that's the difference. And look, both of us and a lot of our friends that watch the show too, I've said this over and over ad nauseum. We have a skewed perspective. We're involved in this political stuff all the time, and we have a skewed perspective, and we're plugged in and engaged, where the average person, even though we have a lot of people that watch the show, a lot of people read Wes's blog posts and Jeff Sadow's blog posts, but The average person doesn't. The average person is taking their kids to the damn swimming pool that they can't do now because they drained all the water out. So when the kid jumps in, he splats on the concrete.
Well, I mean, look, I see everybody saying that, everybody needs a pool. Where is Central Park's community swimming pool? Where is theirs?
Hey, I got an idea.
I mean, Green
I'll
Acres and
advocate.
Brownlee, y'all don't get a public swimming pool. Y'all got tennis courts.
I've got it figured out. I'm a conservative Republican, but I want my part of the social pie. So here you go, Mr. Smith and Tommy Chandler and Cheeto, the absent CAO. I will advocate for closing these damn pools, but instead of a BMX park, I want to fill them in with pond water, put bass in them, and we're going to start doing bass fishing lessons here. It would be low risk. It would be a low insurance policy. It would practically be the same that we use for our high school tournaments. See, there we go. Turn them into bass fishing and fishing learning areas. That's what we need to do.
You got that right in front of the city hall over there. That little pond they got in front of the little civic center.
Do you honestly think that if I went over there and started bass fishing in that pond and brought a buttload of kids in there and started teaching them how, and we started ripping bass out of there, if there are any in there, but there probably are, how long do you think they would let that last?
All they got to do is put a license fee or something or other, and it'll last from now to eternity.
There you go. If we paid for it with our tax dollars, and we got to pay for it again and again and again and again. Okay.
I can tell you that there was a time that there were a lot of fish in there, because
now we're getting to the truth.
I heard rumor of police and firemen putting fish in there. That's
transferring fish, highly illegal.
That's all I know.
Louisiana. Name names, Mr. Lowry. We got to call the wildlife and fisheries. We got to call the possum cops on them.
I'm older now. I think it might have been just yesterday. I turned 56. So, along with my age goes my memory a little bit too.
All right. So, yeah. I see this as a whole, just a PR blunder, if nothing else. It really is. And I think you're right that Hammonds and Cliff Smith are seeing the PR blunder by Tommy and the missing CAO Cheeto. And I think that they're like, oh no, we're not getting caught in the backdraft of that PR blunder. We're going to try to get over here on the side of it. And that's exactly what they've done.
Hey, Paul Johnson said Bossier residents built you a whole lake with their tax dollars. Are you meaning Bossier Parish residents or Bossier City residents? Because ironically, I went up there and paid them a damn $300 check that all the rest of the Bossier residents don't have to pay additionally today. As a matter of fact, you have to do it every single year. And oh, by the way, part of the problem with Bossier City and their money is because everybody thinks they get this big, huge bunch of taxes, and you might go look at what Chris posted on his page as far as where all your taxes go. And the Cypress District is one of those entities that get a little cut of the pie. Additionally, you got the port. They're divvying in there, getting some of that little bit of tax dollars. The Red River Waterway Commission, they're getting a little bit of it. And what are they all doing with it? They're all sticking it back in bank accounts. They don't need all of the tax dollars they get. And so the purpose, economic development is supposed to be economic development, right? Well, I mean, real economic development is having good roads, having public safety, having good infrastructure. I mean, that is true economic development. But we are sacrificing tax dollars to these other entities to go give tax breaks. We're paying them to go give tax breaks to companies to come here while not doing the infrastructure that we need to do in our local governments, the true infrastructure that you need that will attract business. I mean, we keep electing all of these pro-economic development people, and what do? You get loss of property rights. You get local government entities going to Baton Rouge, bringing legislation against to oppose citizens within your community. Talking about the McCormicks. I mean,
yeah, that's
we're
true.
doing it to ourselves. I can promise you right now, you're gonna have candidates here in the near term. All they're freaking gonna talk about is I'm the economic development candidate. Economic development. My goal is to grow Bossier. I want the traffic to be so bad that you'll be able to get around Bossier faster on a moped than you will in a car.
That's
Okay,
that's hilarious. Hey, I want to share a comment real quick. Hold on just a second. That just came in anonymously. So I'm going to put it up on the screen. I put it in the comments there. But Anonymous says they should open the pool at Bossier Extended Stay Hotel or just let everyone swim at Live Casino's pool.
That's awesome.
There we go. There's a solution to the problem right there. And I want to address one other comment too. And we appreciate all the comments, even if you don't completely agree with them. But Cynthia said, don't pit neighborhoods against one another over pools. Cynthia must be relatively new to this show and does not understand how our pot stirring works here. But we do appreciate all the comments.
Well, no, I mean, look, we're not trying to pit people against communities against communities in subdivision, north versus south. I mean, we're not trying to do that.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is there there are differences, and we're not going to not talk about them just because it may make somebody mad, uncomfortable, or irritated. No, we're going to go straight to it and talk about them.
Yeah. We talk about uncomfortable subjects sometimes.
Yeah, I don't like the government funded tennis court thing up there anyway. I don't think the city should be underwriting that crap. Now somebody's going to say, "Well, daggone, Duke, you're just against all. You got to have something." I mean, I got one friend that says that we need to open up and lower the age of drinking and let teenagers and stuff drink, so we'll attract people to come here just for that. I don't know about that one, but
when I was growing up, there was the loophole that was 18. When you were growing up, same thing. We're pretty close to the same age.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Let's see. All right, so that's the pool situation. And again, we appreciate all the comments. Light us up in the comments and the other posts we made about the pool deal and let us know what you think. What do you got, Mr. Lowry?
Well, Joey Harmon, he says, alternative sports facilities are new to Bossier. We see the millions our city spends on baseball, football, pickleball, and pools. We just want an equal opportunity. 100% right.
Fishing, I agree.
I don't disagree that there's a disparity in money spent on baseball and softball and all that kind of stuff, like the Tinsley ball field thing. I mean, how long have we argued about that the public, the citizens of Bossier, don't really get the benefit of that? It's basically built for not Bossier City citizens, but economic development. There you go again. It's more economic development.
You got to be on the list. Got to be on the right list to get the benefit of that.
But y'all vote for these people and enable that. I mean,
it's all of our fault. It's all of our fault. So Miss Jerry says, are y'all golfing in Tommy's tournament? If so, why? Now, to be fair to Tommy, which I usually am not fair to Tommy, I like him personally. I think that's just a big fundraising thing, because he's obviously going to run for mayor or whatever office he's going to try to run for again. So, he's just trying to raise money. I mean, I won't say it's a private deal because it's part of his campaign, but if I remember correctly, that golf tournament is to benefit his re-election campaign, I think. Maybe he donates some to charity. I don't know.
Yeah, just look, I'm glad people are, and y'all don't take me the wrong way. I mean, I'm glad people are showing some emotion about the swimming pool thing, but I just wish, and it comes across hypocritical to me, that people will make a big deal about a swimming pool, but on a lot of these other important issues, you don't even make an effort. And
True.
you know, that's what gets a person like me.
Yeah.
That gets me to my core.
Very, very true. Okay. This police jury thing down in Baton Rouge. What was going on with that?
Case in point, you know, it would be too much to ask for folks to take a position on a piece of legislation by emailing the members of a committee, you know, to say how they feel. You know, when you have these bills come through there, you don't really have that much interaction on. You know, you might get 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 people that'll in total support and oppose. And this is one that, you know, you might would have been interested in. We've covered the McCormick case before. The McCormicks bought a piece of property off of Swan Lake Road some time ago. They went to get a building permit to build their house. I think their house, what was it, Rex? Did their house burn up that they had out there?
Yeah, it burned up. They rebuilt a new house, and basically the police jury, to put it simply, tried to, I don't know if blackmail or just plain out extort them would be the correct terminology. More correct.
Well, they wouldn't give them a building permit to
Right.
build the new house
unless they gave land to the police
unless
jury.
they gave away land to the police jury to make the road on their private land to go to their house to be a public road.
Right.
And they spent the money, went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court agreed with them that that wasn't right. And the issue come down around prescription, meaning that, and you guys are all, every single one of you, you know, there's 80 to 90 of y'all watching right now. And every single one of you, if you buy a piece of property, you buy a house, this issue applies to you. Because if you purchase a piece of property and a deed is filed, you're not done. Because when you do that, you're going to, as a result of this now, be mandated to let the police jury know that you bought this piece of property so that if they have an objection, they could voice it. So basically, you got to get their permission.
Right. Well, get their permission and hope they don't try to blackmail or extort you in the process, right?
Well, I'm going to assume that they want the option to determine whether or not they want a piece of your property or an easement to your property, you know, which was the case with the McCormicks. But I digress a little bit. Let's go to the video and let some of the words spoken at the meeting. And ironically, somebody in the comments, I think it was Haygood, says, anyone know why Princess is so upset? I mean, allegedly, she was down there advocating for this. Now, I don't know for a fact, but I'm heard she was there to support this new rules or stipulations on your property.
Yeah, and I think she had spouted off some deal on a Facebook post. I won't go into all that because we did a whole show on the exact same subject with the exact same little princess. But I'll just say this, she's looking out for her own self-interest as a member of the police jury and somebody who would have the power to wield. And I would say, as a member of the police jury as a whole, again, is attempting to now engage in legal extortion or blackmail if they get this passed, in my opinion. So there you go, little princess. How about that?
Well, let's let the South Louisiana legislator who this bill came through articulate his bill a little bit on the intro here. 3646. Play when you're ready.
House Bill 793 by Chairman Muscarella provides relative to recorded instruments affecting subdivisions.
And I do have a substitute motion. Would you like me to start?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it here in my paperwork, but go ahead.
So, good afternoon, Chairman and members. I bring to you today House Bill 793. And before we start, I would like to welcome, even though they're on the other side of this, Mr. McCormick and his wife Kim, who I've had the opportunity to talk to. They were kind of the subject of this bill. And you know what I tell everybody is that's the great part about this bill, that you can come here and speak your piece and hear every side of the story. So I really want to thank them for doing that today. So this is what the bill does. It's not very complicated. Any map, plat, or survey or instrument that's filed into the record that is non-compliant with subdivision regulations after 2026 does not constitute the commission of a violation for purposes of prescription. That sounds complicated. I'm going to break it down really easy for you. How did we get here? Under a recent ruling by the Supreme Court, any party who was to file a subdivision plat with the clerk of court that was not approved by the parish. So I buy 10 acres of land, I go to the surveyor, I chop it into 10 spots. I do not go to the planning and zoning, I do not go to anybody else, I just go straight to the clerk's office. I file it with the clerk of court, and I just wait for 5 years. Under the ruling, it says that that is now unenforceable because the filing with the clerk of court is notice. Well, if you've been in the clerk's office lately, I go a lot, you can literally file a love letter from your girlfriend with the clerk of court. You can file anything you want to with the clerk of court. Not a lot of people know that. So what we're doing is we're saying that if you file a subdivision plat and it's non-compliant, the tolling of the prescription doesn't run. And that's what the bill does in a nutshell. And I will kind of compare it to this. Under the theory, it would kind of be like if I file a lawsuit, but I don't serve anybody. Just filing the lawsuit in the record under this theory of the law says that that's enough. And I just don't think that goes too far. It doesn't go far enough, I should say.
Who's
All right,
gonna
you
make
can
up
stop
the
it.
rules to
All
make
right,
sure?
let me hit the pause button there. All right.
Yeah. So in the McCormick's case, you know, they bought a piece of property and then went to get a building permit. You know, they bought the property, years went by, then they went to build their house, private driveway, and the police jury said, no, we're not going to give you a permit. But if you give us the road, your private driveway going into your property, you know, then we'll issue the permit. And oh, by the way, you're going to have to pay to bring the road up to a public road standard, you know, for us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they fought them and went all the way and won.
And won. Now, granted, they had to get all the way to the Louisiana Supreme Court to win, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But they did win, which, of course, cost all of us taxpayers that pay any taxes that the Bossier Police Jury is responsible for. It cost us all to take that all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, to be fair, the McCormicks did sue the police jury, not the other way around, but that was a defensive action that they had to do to be able to get a handle on the situation, right?
Yeah. Now what they're saying is that in theory that a developer could buy some land, divide it up, file the papers, and then after, you know, prescription means after a set period of time, the ability for government, meaning the police jury, to oppose or stand in the way of the developer, you know, then building houses on multiple different lots. You know, I get that argument. I see what they're saying, and it's a way that, say, a developer or somebody like that could game the system.
Right.
The problem for me on this is that, you know, just like the McCormicks, if you've got somebody that has 140 acres of land and they suddenly want to build a house on their 140 acres of land, they're not subdividing anything or just want to do it. The police jury, they're going to be trying to get what if I want to build it on the right in the middle? I mean, halfway back of 140. Now the police jury is trying to say, oh well, you're not going to get a building permit unless you give us a damn road or give us a piece of your property. Well, I mean, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around how this can be right.
I have a harder time wrapping my head around anybody that thinks that a government entity would do the opposite of what the police jury is trying to do, because they're just trying to grow government and get more power, even though the majority of them on their claim that they're conservative Republicans. If you go look at all their rap sheets, I mean, their campaign pages, they all claim to be conservative Republicans, yet they are trying to grow government and expand the power of government, which is the antithesis of being a conservative and a Republican.
Yeah, so somebody, I saw it fly up in the comments, said that she was not there. So
yeah,
I guess
Barry said none of the police jury members were there, I think, somewhere.
Okay, yeah, so that was obviously bad information. So but let's jump to the heart of this here at the 4604 mark, and the little lady sitting there to the next, she's with the Police Jury Association.
Oh,
so I'm all of your police jurors, I'm sure, are all members of the card carrying members of the Police Jury Association. It must be nice to have not only a lobbyist for your own individual parish, but then also you got the organization to lobby against your interests as they see fit.
Before I hit play on this, let me ask you a question. How come our police jury members aren't down there advocating for this bill, since it's basically a Bossier Parish police jury bill, with any of the members of our local delegation?
Well, why was not one of our delegation why were they not one of the members to carry it?
Good question. Okay, here we go. Let's hit play. Tell me when to stop.
Our main concern is that property is subdivided and their roads are not built to standards. There's no drainage, and what happens is that those substandard roads are not maintained. They were never approved to meet parish building standards, and emergency vehicles cannot reach these properties, and that would include fire trucks and ambulances. And that is our main concern, is that when property is subdivided, there are access roads to each parcel that will allow these emergency vehicles to access these residences.
That's it.
Yep. Representative Jackson?
Is she trying to pull at the heartstrings?
You can stop. So, I mean, if you want to live off grid and you want to live in the woods, I mean, you got to build a damn highway like I-20 or I-49.
I mean, I expect her to say, would somebody please think of the children?
I mean, bottom line is I mean, I get, but what's the limits? I mean, at what point is your property and the way you want to live? If you want to live in a tent and that be your house and you swing from one tree to the next to get back and forth, I mean, at what point is your freedom? I mean, what point is freedom way in here?
Well, let's even expand that. If I go fishing on Caddo Lake and I run way up the lake, I know if I have an emergency and have to call 911, I'll be lucky if the damn phone call comes through, much less I know it's going to take the sheriff's department a minimum
well, then you
10 to 15.
Be able to do that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't have the right to do that.
What did we all do before we had cell phones?
Caddo Parish needs to take that right away.
Yeah, exactly.
You're being a harm to yourself.
Exactly. I mean, what if you go rock climbing, mountain climbing, snow skiing? I mean, I know I'm being a little dramatic here, but where does it stop?
And
The nanny state. That is what your police jury is advocating for. The Bossier Parish Police Jury is advocating for a nanny state and their ability to take property almost at will. That's what I believe they're advocating for here. Am I wrong?
no, and I was trying to remember that bill number. There was another bill that we highlighted a show or so ago, and again, I hate to be this way to people, but people are more concerned with a swimming pool than they are much more important than your rights that are being eroded by the people that you're voting for, and you don't even realize it.
But
You
let me stop you there again, Duke. I agree with you 100%. But again, for you to know, or for the average person, not for us to know, but for the average person to know that this bill was going through, they have to be plugged in and engaged to the legislative sessions. And then to watch this video, they have to know where to go on the legislature's website to click on it. And then they got to go 46 minutes and 52 seconds in to listen to what we're listening to. The average person just wants to take their damn kids to the swimming pool and go home and eat dinner and do homework or whatever kids do these days.
I get that. You know what?
Okay.
I wish that I envy those people. I envy those people. I wish I could be that person. Unfortunately, I caught the bug and it's in my DNA and I chase this crap. But, we are a minority.
Right.
We are a minority and we can't do it all. We have to have, there has to be more people start paying attention to these things. There's not enough of you politicians. And like in Bossier City, the politicians in Bossier City, they're getting weary, or they have, even the old ones and the new ones, they get weary of how many people are paying attention to things and doing things. But you know what? School board's not getting weary. The police jury's not getting weary. The bottom line is there's not enough people paying attention to all the different things that all these different government bodies. It needs to be more people. That's the bottom line. You got to get involved. You got to be asking the question. I will say a hat tip to a lot of people. I saw we got tagged a few times about a golf course in South Bossier that was formerly owned by a Chinaman that has now got some kind of invasive trees being planted on 9 of the former 27 holes out there. And I don't completely know all of the backstory, but social media was an equalizer in that case. People were blowing up one of the police jurors to answer questions regarding that. I think they went a little far because it kind of sounded like they were accusing him of something. And I don't think that was the case, but that was the way it came about. But a lot of people started asking questions. Well, there's a whole lot more stuff people have to get involved in and paying attention to.
See, there, Tracy says it best. We don't want to pay attention, Duke. We just want to swim. Swim, Tracy, swim.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of civilizations that thought like that, and they don't exist no more. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say.
All right. So let's see. Shall we jump to the next point, or what do you want to do?
Keep rolling.
Okay. You want me to just hit play and keep going?
Yeah, just hit 55, 57. Let's jump to the next point.
Okay, 55 coming up. Here we go. Make sure click again.
Oh, never mind. Just
No?
go to the next one. Go to one. I'm not going to do this to people. Jump to the 1013.
Okay, here we go.
Mr. McCormick made some comments, and I thought he did well. I don't know that he'd ever spoke at the legislature before, but under the circumstances, I thought he did pretty good.
Yeah, that guy looks familiar sitting beside him.
Okay.
The guy over here on the right, kind of the middle of the screen, he looks awfully familiar.
I wasn't going to address him, but now that you did, jump back to the 55-47, so we're going to recognize him.
Oh, Lord, here we go. Here we go.
substitute bill is much better. And I was here, I've served in the legislature before, I've had to deal with substitute bills, and they get improved along the way. It's better, but it's still, there's one particular issue in this bill that's a problem for private citizens. The question you had about, gee, something can happen, and a deed gets recorded and sits for 5 years and something happens. Louisiana is a public records doctrine state, which means we rely on what happens in the public records. So if a deed gets recorded, the clerk of court records it. I can tell you right now online in every parish what's been filed today as far as deeds. This isn't 1926, this is 2026. You can look on here on your, I can tell you the deeds filed in Bossier Parish or any parish. The assessor's office and the police jurors all have probably free access to that in areas. So you can tell what gets recorded every day as far as a deed. But as a public records doctrine state, what we need to do is have some consistency and rely on the ownership of property long term. You can take someone's property through acquisitive prescription. I can move my fence over on your property and possess it for 30 years and come and get ownership of that. I can have a deed and be in good faith that gets recorded and 10 years later go to court and prove ownership of that because I'm in good faith through acquisitive prescription. We have prescription and requirements on things that you must do on everything that you deal with. You're in a car wreck, you better bring your suit within 2 years. You create a crime, the district attorney better charge you within so many years. You have medical malpractice, you have to do something within so many years. What my problem as an individual citizen, a taxpayer and property owner is with this bill, is that the trigger for when did that period of time when you must do something start? And what the court has said, and the Supreme Court has said, is that the recording of the deed is notice. If the municipality wants to make a rule that says you have to do something when you record your deed and you don't do it and you record your deed, that's the action. That's what should be the objection. There's been something that's been a problem. And that is what would start the period of time that the legislature has set out of when a municipality must act. Let me make it your neighbor. Your neighbor's doing something on their property that violates the homeowners association restrictive covenants. If they do it for too long, then they get to keep doing it because you didn't bring it promptly. You didn't bring it timely. The right to enforce that has prescribed. Here, the police jury has 5 years from the date of recordation. If they think they need to make an ordinance that requires property owners to record something specifically, and they get recorded, and they can look at it every day. It's in the same building, the police juries and the assessor's office is gonna work them down, and the police jury has access to them. They have 5 years to look at that deed and say, hey, Mr. McCormick, you didn't do something you're supposed to have done. And they have 5 years to go to court and seek, and they can fine them, and they can put criminal penalties and civil penalties, but you have to do that within 5 years. Just as you would, Representative Cox, if you were in an accident, bring it in a certain period of time. Medical malpractice, a certain period of time. You want to prosecute somebody, do it within a certain period of time. We think, as property owners, that 5 years is enough time. And what this bill does is say, hey, if you're not going to follow a local ordinance, when you record your deed, you also have to send us written notice that you're not complying with that.
Okay, we got a 3 minute.
All right,
rule.
so you can stop.
I'll let you.
Okay.
I thought, I mean, that's Jeff Thompson, former adversary of mine. I have to give him credit. I think he articulated.
He did well.
I think he articulated it well. I have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, he did. Made it pretty plain to me. Did everybody else understand that? You know, and in full disclosure, he's also an attorney. He's not. I don't know whether Mr. McCormick hired him, Jimmer hired him or not, but he's also an attorney, by the way, so he knows the legal system pretty good.
Well, he's a judge, so he's not. I don't think he's practicing.
Not practicing. Yeah.
I think only the city of Bossier attorney or city judge, Santi Parks, gets to have a practice and still be a judge at the same time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, either way, he's obviously familiar with the legal system as a judge and attorney on pause or whatever the term is for it. All right. Shall we jump up to the 1 minute mark?
Yep, let's jump to that mark and we'll listen to Mr. McCormick articulate a few points and then we will move on and we'll let go of this one.
Yeah.
Completed. And my comments are, you have to ask yourself why Bill 793 is even here. why is 793 being pushed by the Bossier Parish Police Jury municipalities? Why are rewriting a law that has worked for 70 years and was recently reaffirmed in my case and my wife's case by the state Supreme Court and the Second Circuit Court of Appeals? Why, if this passes, we help big government strong arm people like me and landowners by muddying the water that the Supreme Court just cleared up? You're going to change a law that's been on the books for 70 years and is very clear and defined to muddy up the water to give the parishes more power. Why did the Title Association freak out at the original draft of this? Because it was done so poorly. They went to work and they rewrote the substitute bill, but they did not rewrite paragraph number 4, which covers protection of the property owners. And that is what Justice Thompson was talking about. Paragraph 4 leaves very unclear where prescription begins and how notification occurs to the government body, which the Supreme Court just cleared up in the law. So you really don't even need Bill 793. They already told us how to avoid the loopholes. Current law defines it, and the Supreme Court just agreed. Passing this would open up more strong arming by Bossier Parish Police Jury and municipalities and letting them choose what notice of prescription is and an unlimited time to exercise it in the future. Currently, we are grandfathered to the original use, not to these new subdivisions. I bought 120 acres, or we bought 120 acres in a 140 acre tract where there are already homes. We already live there. We already have our services. I needed a $500 building permit, and I owned all the way to the public road, and they spent $350,000 because they wanted me to donate part of my property and not pay for it, and pay to bring that road up to standards because I bought 120 acres. That's not fair, it's not right, and had it not been for this law and the way it was written and the way prescription began, which was the deed filing. And let's talk about the deed filing. How easy is it for the Bossier Parish Police Jury to get the deed filed? All they have to do is email the clerk of court, give me a list of split outs this year, write a letter to those split outs, and that interrupts prescription. It's that easy. You don't have to rewrite a law and muddy the water.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick.
He laid it out pretty good.
Yeah, he did. I thought he did a good job. And they went on for a long time. They really did. And all of the reps asked a lot of good questions. And I thought they were on point. I thought it was good.
Yeah. Hey, I want to address one comment real quick. Yeah, I agree. That was a good spill by Thompson. Good spill by Mr. McCormick there. Cynthia LaChapelle, I hope I said that right, Cynthia. Y'all are acting like bullies by decrying all of us who are fighting for the pools. I want to commend them. We view it differently. Obviously, if I'm doing anything, it's better than belittling someone for speaking up, and y'all have no knowledge of what we pool people are involved in regarding governing legislative matters. Look, that may be true, Cynthia. Maybe you personally, or you and friends of yours, write letters all the time and send emails. You're right. We have no knowledge of that. We could do a public information request and get that, but maybe you do that. I can tell you and I'm just speaking for myself, so Duke can chime in here in a minute. As somebody who watches most of the city council meetings and pays attention to a lot of the police jury meetings and all that, and has attended many of them, it's usually crickets there. Unless something like tennis or the pool situation. What else, Duke? What am I know I'm missing several of them. Or obviously term limits. Unless that comes up, it's usually crickets at those meetings. Am I wrong, Mr. Lowry? And I'm not saying you personally, Cynthia. Maybe you do stuff that we're unaware of. I get it. But that's what we're referring to.
Yeah, I could public information request the legislature for individuals that have filed green or red cards or taken positions on issues, legislation. And I know that I have been highly active this legislative session. If anybody wants to do a public request to see mine, by all means, I challenge you to do it, because I am honestly $70 to drive down, $70 to drive back. And you know who pays me? Nobody pays me. And I've been going down damn near every week. And, you know, watching all of these council meetings, watching these police jury meetings, you know, you see who speaks, you see who sends in messages. And I can tell you, there's not a whole lot of people doing it. There's not. It is a minority of people. So for people who are actually, you know, going after some of these things, you know, you need to look at the other side of the equation. It pisses some of us off to see people you're getting all mad about a pool, and you're not looking at the whole big picture of government and all the other things that are a whole lot more egregious than just a swimming pool. Now, I get that some people and everybody has life events and you have things going on, and you just have to check out. God knows I've had to check out before, because, you know, just so much, it's too much. I get that, but my overriding point is there are so much other more egregious things than just a swimming pool for people to get mad about. You should be enraged about some of the other things that are going away that are truly eroding, you know, your way of life, and I mean, your freedoms. It's happening, and it's happening from people that it shouldn't be happening from. It's happening from people who tell you that they're on your team, and they're not on your team, and you're never going to know.
Yeah. And look,
just
as big an advocate as I am, and we both are, for social media, and obviously that's the platform that we've used since day one, you know, over 300 shows, really. The social media is just the way to get people fired up. And out of getting, let's say we fire up, I'm just going to pick a number. Let's say we fire up 100 people on a particular subject by putting something out there on social media. We know that 10% of those people will actually get fired up enough to think about taking action. And out of those 10%, only half of those people will actually send an email or send a message or whatever to their politician. And only half of those people might show up to a meeting. Now, I'm pulling those numbers out of my rear end, but I guarantee you I am not far off on that.
Yeah, Jim Morrison, or John Moore, what's his name, for the Doors, Jim Morrison, whatever. He wrote that song. He talked about, you know, how it takes an event to inscribe itself on people's memories for them to take action, or something like in one of his songs or whatever. And it's so true that few people take action and do anything. And to Miss Cynthia's comment, you know, to ignore the small things, absolutely not. You know, I'm only using this one because a lot of people, I mean, God, I wish we could get the reaction of the quantity of people that have reacted to the swimming pool thing over some of the other issues that just, my goodness. I mean, there's a lot of people.
We have spent literal months of our lives, Duke and I, sitting in this chair, and a lot of the viewers sitting there listening to us ramble on and get on our soapboxes, trying to bring this stuff to light. And still, when you go to the majority of city council meetings, unless it is something like the arts situation or whatever that directly affects somebody's pet thing, you go to the majority of those city council meetings or police jury meetings, it's crickets. And that's our point, Cynthia. We respect your comment.
Yeah.
And we understand your comment, but we say you can, you know, walk and chew gum at the same time. Yes, absolutely be concerned about the smaller things that do matter to you and your friends and your family, but you better also be concerned about the bigger things as well, in our opinion.
And the swimming pool is the perfect example, because look at what all of the folks that came out and said something about the swimming pool. Look at what happened. It changed.
Yeah.
Imagine if all of those people that came out on the swimming pool issue came out on the other issues.
All right. And one more comment, and then we'll go ahead and move on. And again, Cynthia, we appreciate the comments, but you don't get to people involved by berating them when they do. Well, obviously, you've not watched the show very many times. That's fine. And again, we appreciate you, watching tonight and whenever else you may have and looking at the content. But apparently, you don't understand what we do. We're here to bubble these things up from the surface. We're here to show what we call the inside baseball, going back to the very first show that we've done. And we talk about a lot of things that other people refuse to talk about publicly. And we do that to stir the pot and to piss people off and hopefully spur them into action, whether they're pissed off at us or pissed off at the politicians or both. That's what we hope to do. And so, again, we appreciate your comments, Cynthia.
Like we said at the start of this show, we were going to try to piss people off, and we felt like I think we succeeded. We did it.
Yeah. All right. So that takes care of the police. Oh, do we know if they've killed that bill, or what's the status of the bill?
Oh no, they passed it out of that committee unanimous, so it'll go to the House floor. It'll go to the House floor to vote. Now, I suspect it's probably going to have some opposition, because that committee is pretty dadgum liberal.
Imagine that. Imagine that. All right, so let's move on. Let me spend a few minutes on the Caddo Mathheads, and then we'll kind of wrap up the show with Kennedy and his carbon capture deal. So, as most of you know, Duke and I have talked about it on the show. I also recorded, I think I have the only video recording of the Blanchard Town Hall meeting with the representatives from Stack Industries and the mayor of Blanchard and all that, and SWEPCO, where they were discussing and basically presenting publicly, finally, the whole NDA discussion. But anyway, they were presenting it publicly at a town hall meeting. And honestly, it was a good discussion, because it changed my mind. Not completely, but gave me a pretty good new direction on this data center and its effect on Caddo Lake. Now, obviously, we have another data center being put in just north of Benton. And so it's following a similar track. It's going to draw its water from Bossier. But the concern that I have as a bass fisherman and person who frequently uses Caddo Lake and enjoys Caddo Lake, my biggest concern was the amount of water that they were drawing from Caddo Lake. And their projections called for, the reports were 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 million gallons a day. And I'm sitting there, okay, let me run that math. Even at 1 million gallons a day, that's 365 million gallons a year. If they had to draw 5, that's 5 times that. We're talking, a lot of water, nearly 1 billion gallons. That's quite a bit, and if another data center comes in and Dallas again tries to withdraw water upstream, that would be a concern for me. But in that meeting, and I'm gonna cut the video clip out in the next day or two and post it, but in that meeting they explain, no. The way their system works, they project with reasonable accuracy that they're only going to use about 57 million gallons a year. Now, that sounds like a lot, but because they use air cooling the majority of the year and only use the water cooling for the hottest parts of the year, they don't have to use all of that water all the time. And that sounds like a lot of water, but it's really only the equivalent of a couple of subdivisions. And so I started running the math and posting this on social media under the outdoor news, and oh my goodness, everybody is losing their minds. So let me put up this first cut right here. I've shared some of this out on bossierwatch, but I used AI and a data center, or used data center technology and AI technology to do this. But if Caddo Lake were a 5-gallon bucket, now, at any point in time, Caddo Lake has I've got approximately on the bucket, but has over 33 billion gallons. As a matter of fact, I figured Caddo Lake at an average 4-foot depth. It's actually deeper than that on average. It's got a lot of shallow water, but it's average between 4 and 6 foot of depth. You'll see it published 8 foot, but because of siltation, 6 foot. So I had AI generate this. The amount of water that Amazon projects to withdraw in 1 year from Caddo Lake, if Caddo Lake were a 5-gallon bucket of water, would be the equivalent of a teaspoon. And that's if no new water entered Caddo Lake. Not one drop of water fell on Caddo Lake, and no water came from Lake of the Pines. Caddo Lake would be the 5-gallon bucket. Amazon's data center would be a teaspoon. And people are losing their minds because they can't run math. Now, I didn't use AI to come up with this theory. I just used AI to create and it actually did it right off the bat and took about 20 seconds. I would have spent half the day in Photoshop doing this. AI came up with this immediately, and I thought did a great job of it. So I got a phone call. As a matter of fact, I got several phone calls while I was down in New Orleans, but I got a phone call from a person I'm not going to name on the show right now, who is, let's just say, very involved in Caddo Lake things. And this person told me, said, hey, I think you're wrong because you use the Corps of Engineers numbers and their water flow in cubic feet per second off the Caddo Dam is not correct. Well, first of all, I use the Vicksburg district's numbers, and their numbers may be not totally correct because it's a projected number. They're using a formula to calculate this. But at 940 cubic feet per second, that was 3 days ago, that's 25 million gallons of water per hour that's flowing over the Caddo Dam or flowing over the weir right now. And this person told me, said, oh, no, that's not right. The water doesn't flow over the dam until it hits 170. Houle stage elevation on Caddo Lake is 168.5. So when it hits 168.5, it begins flowing over the spillway. And I told this person, I said, no, you're incorrect. It's flowing over the dam right now. It's been doing that for the last nearly 12 months consistently. I fish this lake 3 to 4 times a month minimum, and I go by the dam quite a bit. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Okay. So I said, I tell you what, I sent this person the original plans for the dam showing them how the water flows over the dam and over the weir. And then I went over there today, so I'm going to show y'all this video real quick. It's a 30-second video.
How arrogant of you.
Yes, I know. Well, I could say a lot of comments for that. My mom is watching. She could probably tell everybody how arrogant I am, and don't try to prove me wrong. But anyway, so this is unedited video. This was this afternoon. Here we go. All right, let's see here. All right, so let's discuss the Caddo Lake situation with water and the Amazon data center. I am at the Caddo Lake Dam. It's April the 30th, 2026. And in the amount of time that it takes me to shoot this video, there's going to be 500,000 gallons or more of water that flows out of Caddo Lake, right over the spillway, down 12 Mile Bayou, and into the Red River. And the lake today is at 168.9 feet. Anytime that it's at 168.5 and above, it's going to be flowing water over the spillway, and again, right down the lake. So in the amount of time that it's taken me to do this video, about 500,000 gallons of water have flowed over that spillway. Any questions, Mr. Lowry?
No, I'm just wondering how that plays into the swimming pools in South Bossier, because obviously that is not of importance. What you're talking about there, the swimming pools in South Bossier isn't the most important issue.
Hey,
and you're arrogant. You're arrogant for even, and condescending for even wanting to address an issue like that or looking at it. How narrow-minded of you.
Well, I am arrogant and condescending. I don't deny that at all. And you can see my mom doing the laughing emojis in the comments right now because I am telling the truth. I am arrogant, conceited, And when I'm right, I will do everything I can to prove it. So I don't really care. And so then, of course, I had to do the other smart ass graphic, which is these people that are arguing against data centers and AI, and they're the devil. They're literally using data centers and AI to post this on social media. The hypocrisy, the irony of this is just unbelievable. I don't think we're getting smarter, and we're in the beginnings of the information age. Information flows at our fingertips. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, endless amount of information, and it's going to waste. And, you know, people are, I don't know, until it shows up on their front doorstep, they don't care.
Yeah, you're right. Horatio asked, was that AI? This poster that you're looking at right here is not AI. That's actually the new Amazon data center. They already built it. It only took them 30 days. That's an actual shot of the Amazon data center, and that's a real person standing there looking at his phone like that. I'm just kidding, Horatio. I didn't use AI with the video of me at the dam. I have other video there too, but somebody will probably claim that. They'll claim that I used AI to create that video and show the water flowing over the dam. They probably will. All right, Mr. Lowry. So there's my Caddo Lake soapbox, or water bucket as it may be.
Well, I think we should close. I mean, and while, you know, the pool people in South Bossier won't find it to be of importance, I would assume, Senator Kennedy had some words for or about and taken a position on carbon sequestration. You know, that's one of those issues that, you know, a lot of people have taken an interest in. And, you know, I'm not taking a position for or against, or I'm not saying anything, but what I am saying, the fact that, you know, one of the most prominent U.S. senators is taking a position on it is pretty doggone telling. And I think probably best to listen to what he's going to say on this is pretty significant.
I would agree. All right, let me see if I can get that queued up accurately. Give me just a second here. I think if I click that button, that should go. Yeah, that's close enough. All right, here we go. So this is 20 minutes long, so just tell me whenever you want to stop, and we'll take it from there. Here we go.
I'm going to spend my last few minutes on another topic. This one is important to all of us, but it's also important to Louisiana. I want to talk about carbon dioxide. We all have heard carbon dioxide, CO2. It's a gas. It's colorless. It's odorless. It's everywhere. It's actually a pretty small part of our atmosphere, really. I looked at the numbers. It's 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere, so it's a really, really small part, but it packs a wallop. CO2 is composed of one atom of carbon and two atoms of oxygen, and it is produced naturally when we breathe out. For example, we breathe out carbon dioxide. It's produced naturally when organic matter decomposes. And it's very important to God's world. Plants use it for photosynthesis. It also is released when we burn fossil fuels. You've probably read that. And even though carbon dioxide has all these extraordinarily beneficial uses, one of the downsides of it is that it's a fairly heavy gas, and it rises even though it's dispersed throughout our atmosphere, but it does rise, and it's what's called a greenhouse gas. It acts like a blanket. It says if you get enough CO2 in our atmosphere, it's like a blanket covers the Earth. And what
Hang
happens
on a
when
second.
you're under
Pause it.
arrest? Nose and eat.
What agreements? Have you seen an NDA?
No, as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, we asked for that. You did specifically, dude, because as a matter of fact, you went to the Bossier police jury meeting a few meetings ago. And once the deal, correct me if I'm wrong, according to Stephen Jackson's bill, why they had Stephen Jackson push this through, of all people, of all reps, I don't know. But according to Jackson's bill in 2024, once the deal is made public, then basically the NDAs are open for public viewing, right?
That's right. Everything pertaining to the deal is supposed to be out there in the public for everybody to be able to see. And so I went to the meeting, had them answer the questions at the police jury meeting about if their negotiations were over with, reminded them of the statute that said once it's over with, you have to make the disclosures. And I resubmitted the public information request the very next day for copies of the non-disclosure agreements from the police jury, to which they responded back to say, no records responsive to your request, after just admitting on video that I can go get right now and show you where they said they did sign non-disclosure agreements. But yet one day later, they tell me they don't have any records. And right now, there's police jurymen saying that they've been transparent about everything pertaining to their non-disclosure agreements or the data centers in Bossier Parish. Now, I know that's pretty damn arrogant of us to articulate the work that we've done and, the stuff we're putting out there. And I know that swimming pools are more important. But when your public officials are bald-faced lying to you and somebody goes and puts in the work on it, I mean, I think that is of value, regardless of whether it is arrogant or not. I think that's of value to the public that they know that. Some people may find offense to that. But yeah, that's what happened. There, got it off my chest because I'm getting madder and madder as I go here. But I mean, I know that doesn't count for nothing. I know that's small potatoes when it compares to a swimming pool. But go ahead.
Maybe you need to go swimming and cool off, Mr. Lowry. That's the ticket. Go jump in the pool. I would tell you to jump in the lake, but you do have a lake not far from you. You could do that, but go jump in the pool, Mr. Lowry.
Sure could. It's insulting. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Let's listen to Mr. Kennedy. He's always good to calm your nerves. Here we go.
And that heat can change your natural temperature and sometimes impact your weather and your sea levels. And that's why you hear some folks talk about global warming and climate change. That's what we're talking about. That's all CO2 is. President, we don't have a world plan to deal with this problem. President Biden came up with a plan. It was called Spend as Much Money as I Possibly Can. He spent billions of dollars fighting CO2. I checked, you know how much all of the billions, and might have spent $1 trillion, but certainly billions of dollars of American taxpayer money that he spent. You know how much it lowered world's temperatures? None. Zero. Zilch. He never had a plan. It was always just throw money at the wall and see what happens. I hope in the future we can do better. But here's my point. One of the things that government did to try to combat CO2, or at least control CO2, is pay companies to capture it. And we're still doing that. And what do I mean by capture? Well, when companies, let's say take a petrochemical plant, when it burns fossil fuels, natural gas usually, it produces CO2, carbon dioxide. And there is a way under the technology to capture that CO2. What do you do with it? One option is to inject it into the ground, into the earth, deep beneath our feet. Now, you would hope that companies, many of them became, during the Biden years, very woke, and they criticized anybody who asked questions about the President Biden's climate change plan. But the other reason they were so high on carbon capture is because the federal government was giving them bucket loads of money to capture this carbon.
There you go.
It's called the 45Q tax credit. We will actually pay these companies, like a petrochemical company, to capture carbon and inject it into the ground in the interest of our environment and climate. We pay $85. It's your money. You're paying it, not me. I pay a little bit of it when I pay my taxes, but we all pay it. We actually pay companies $85 a ton. The lobbyists of many of our friends in the business community are lobbying right now to increase the money that we pay them to $250 a ton. But just based on paying them $85 a ton, by 2030, we will be spending about $30 billion. So while I want to believe that the companies would capture the carbon in the interest of the environment, they're being paid a whole bunch of money to do it as well. I'm not saying they wouldn't do it anyway out of the goodness of their heart, but the money doesn't hurt.
I'm going to stop it right there because he said that.
Pretty good. And we're not even to the good, we're not even to the good part yet.
Yeah, this is spot on. You want me to keep playing it?
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go. Bear with us, folks. I mean, I'm just sitting here entranced listening to Kennedy talk. Here we go.
Okay. You know what the old saying is? You don't have to be rich and famous to be happy. You just have to be rich. So anyway, we're paying companies a whole bunch of money to go capture this carbon and inject it in the ground. Now, I didn't come here tonight to debate whether that's a good idea or a bad idea. That's a lot of that is up to the states and to Congress for another day. There are pros and there are cons, and some say it's a good idea, some say it's a bad idea. I know certain oil and gas companies have been injecting CO2 into producing oil and gas wells for years to make the gas and oil flow better without hurting anybody. I know in other cases there have been CO2 pipelines, carbon dioxide pipelines transmitting carbon dioxide that have ruptured and injured people. I don't know who's right and I don't know who's wrong. I do know, though, that to inject it underground, you've got to do it on somebody's property.
Mm-hmm. And
that's where the rub comes in. We take our property rights in Louisiana seriously. Your right to own property is a federal constitutional right.
Some of us do unless you're an elected official.
Yeah.
Okay. So important, we put it in our state constitution. Article 1, Section 4 of our state constitution says, every person has the right to acquire, own, control, use, enjoy, protect, and dispose of private property. Now, our Constitution also goes on to say, because we're practical people in Louisiana, this right to own property is subject to reasonable statutory restrictions and the reasonable exercise of the police power. What does that mean? Well, as we all know, that means if I own a piece of property and they want to put a highway through, and I don't want them to put a highway through my property, but it would cost the taxpayers of my state 3 times the amount to move the highway over here as opposed to putting it through my property under the law, we call it expropriation. I think some states call it eminent domain. In my state, in every other state, and under the federal government, the state can come in and say, look, Kennedy, we know you don't want to give up your property, but it's going to cost us a lot more to put the road over here, so we're going to take your property, but we're going to pay you the full price. And they do. They have to. It's in our Constitution. They have to pay the full fair market price. So we're pretty comfortable with that. But the people in Louisiana have just discovered that the companies that I talked about, who are being paid this federal money, $85 a ton, to capture carbon and inject it into the ground, can also take people's land to put in an injection well. And I don't like that. I'm not taking sides in terms of carbon capture. I am not. But we've got a lot of people in my state that are very suspect about the wisdom of this carbon capture. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but they've learned the hard way that if you trust government, you failed history class. And if someone in my state who owns a piece of property, it's usually in my rural areas, who owns 50 acres that was handed down from their dad and mom and their dad and mom and their dad and mom, if a company wants to come in and pay them to put in an injection well and put carbon dioxide underneath their land, and those landowners are okay with that, I'm okay with it. But I'm going to have something to say if a lot of these companies start coming in and taking people's property and putting in an injection well. That's a big difference between putting in a road. This is a new technology. We're still learning about it. And right now, under Louisiana law, this is passed by the Louisiana legislature. The statute is Title 31, Section 1108. Louisiana Revised Statutes 31-1108. This is what it says.
I think we
Any
can stop right
storage
there.
operator.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, he's of course spot on. And the big difference is if the government's going to come in and take it through eminent domain for a road or some public use, some public good, that's one thing. But like he said, these are private companies that are getting tax credits, essentially getting paid to capture this carbon. They're turning a profit. And I'm all about business and all about everybody making a profit. But if they can come in and use the government to force your land to be taken from you just to turn a profit for something that is not like a road or a bridge or something like that, that is for the total public good, yeah, I've got a big problem with that too.
Well, if any lesson is taken or any point is taken from, you know, what he's saying, from what we're saying, you know, I hope it's this, that there is not enough people getting involved in addressing these issues. The bottom line is we as citizens, we are losing. We're all losing. And if you think that one politician to the next, that it's just a matter of your one vote is enough, it's not enough. It's not enough. And you have to give more time to more issues, not just the small issues, but it's got to be the big issues too. But there's not enough people. You can't tell me that there's not people out there that can give a little bit more time to focus on these issues and to let these politicians know that you're paying attention, because a lot of them don't think you are paying attention. They count on not hearing from you. They count on that. And you're losing. I mean, I've been seeing it every week down there at the legislature with these bills flying through there, and nobody even voices an opposition, a support for a good bill. Nobody's there. The government funded lobbyists and people to advocate against your interests, they're there.
Yeah, they're getting paid big
They're-
money.
They're there every day. And most of the time they're using your money to do it, to work against you. And I don't know how else to say it, but just there's a part of everybody's life that you need to give some of it and commit some of it to this stuff. And if you choose not to, and you just check out and you say, you know what, can't do it, gonna make sure that I go catch my bass and do my thing or whatever, then when it all falls apart and or it comes to your front door, man, don't come crying to me. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, it's all our fault. Look, I'm fine. You know, we started this show with basically 0 people, a small handful, basically our family and a couple of friends watching. If we looked up and the viewership went back to 0, I would be fine with that if I knew that everybody that was not watching us was engaging with their elected representatives directly
100%.
calling them, directly emailing them, and spending that time. I'm fine with nobody watching Bossier Watch.
Yep. 100%.
All right, Mr. Lowry, let me encourage everybody. Remember, Facebook deletes after 30 days. Go to YouTube. Just search for Bossier Watch on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. YouTube keeps the shows indefinitely, so you can always watch there and go back and refer to stuff. And we'll try to put links to some of these videos, and I'm going to make a concerted effort to cut out little clips from all this and make Facebook reels and all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, we appreciate everybody watching, all the new people that watch tonight as well. Take us out of here, Mr. Lowry. What say you?
Good night, everybody. Let's go have supper.
I'm hitting the finish button. We're out.